tonight. We're going to talk about information technology careers, going into the entry level versus, the advanced careers, and kind of focus on the entry level a little bit and what it takes to get there. It's being presented by the Village of Bolingbrook Information Technology Commission. The agenda for this evening, we'll talk a little bit about what the IT Commission is and what we do, introduce the speakers tonight, talk about IT fields, education and certification in IT, work experience, a little bit about how to do a career transition into IT, additional resources you can look at, and then we'll have some Q&A at the end, which is we won't be taking live questions by voice during this webinar, but you can type your questions in through Zoom and we'll answer them at the end and they'll be proctored by us. So what is the Bolingbrook IT Commission? We support basically the village of dissemination of relevant and timely information of the services, civic and community events of the village in Bolingbrook. We facilitate the effective use of and application of technology through programs and services that we provide to the government, residents, and organizations within the boundaries of Bolingbrook. So in a nutshell, we kind of serve for the community, doing stuff like this webinar, going to STEM fairs, doing demonstrations, and we also help with the village by helping their IT department, again, use technology to make village information more available to the community.
I'm Stephen Murtis. I have about 15 years of experience in IT. Started off working in a school district into kind of the social services sector in in-house IT, and I'm currently with an IT managed service provider doing a whole range of services for small to mid-sized business. I've been working in IT, like I said, for about 15 years. Most of my focus has been on really the IT infrastructure and the support side of things, working with end user support, working with system administration. So I hold a master's degree in management information systems, various IT certifications, and I've been on the IT Commission for about 2 years now.
My name is Mark Behrens. I have about 21 years of IT consulting experience. I specialize in software test automation, which we will talk about a little bit later today as one of the career paths. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration, information decision sciences, and I'm just shy of 2 years on the Technology Commission. Okay, so just to give it what we're going to talk about today. So a couple things: entry-level IT jobs, and here's just a small example of a project coordinator, which could be an entry-level IT job, and what you need to possess to be a project coordinator: communication, leadership, working as a team, negotiation, and personal organization. We get software testing, another great entry-level IT job that can turn into something bigger. Again, someone who's analytical, technical, good verbal and communication skills, detail-oriented, likes to break things. It's pretty much what a software tester does, and is willing to learn. And there's a lot of opportunity once you get into software testing in the IT realm. And then some degree-likely IT jobs. Really, a developer or a software engineer. Most likely, you'll need a college degree or in engineering or computer science. Need some core language skills coming out of that before you start as a software engineer. Again, a quick learner, logical thinking, team player, and attention to detail are some good attributes of a software engineer. Again, that's just the tip of the iceberg of different IT jobs, and we'll get into more later, but wanted to kind of contrast the two things we'll be talking about tonight.
So one of the things that we need to kind of start off with is what kind of IT fields are there that you could possibly go into or pivot toward if you're already in the industry but somewhere else. And we've kind of laid it out here in 6 broad categories. At the end, I do lay out kind of the explanation that, hey, there are other categories. These can be expanded. Some of these blend together. But one of the first areas that a lot of people get their start is in end user support, especially if your entry into the field starts off with, you were the person in the family that everyone turned to when the computer or the internet didn't work. And then maybe you volunteered with your school or with a church or some other organization, helping out with their technology and helping when things don't work because you happen to be the one that's comfortable with technology. And that's oftentimes the gateway that people have getting into things. Kind of stepping up from there, often people branch towards system or network administration. managing the server and infrastructure of a business network, working on the actual networking side of things, the switches and the routers and such. Another broad sweeping category of technology gets into more at the development side of things, whether it's programming, doing software development, getting into database administration, or web development. And these three in particular tend to kind of bleed across each other, but do have their own distinct paths. And then information security. It's a huge field that really encompasses all of these and its own career trajectories. As more and more regulations come out, it becomes all the more important. You hear about data breaches, the people that are cleaning that up or hoping to help so that those kind of things don't happen in the first place are the IT security pros.
Yeah, and then with all these different fields, some can be blended, they can be expanded upon. You find out in IT, you wear a lot of hats, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
All right, so here we're taking a look at just some examples of kind of the entry level into what I would call more the infrastructure side, more that help desk side and the system and network management side of things. Again, help desk and service desk support. This is working with the end users. This is whether it's specific software issues, maybe it's just general end user technology issues, from I'm locked out of my computer to it won't boot up, to my keyboard has buttons stuck. The very simple things up to executive white glove treatment, getting into the networking side or the server side of things. These are all paths as you grow that give you a place to go. And with all of them, they have a track upward either to higher tiers of technical aptitude within those tiers, as well as getting into management over teams of those. The one qualification that I would add beyond kind of what we have on here, that getting into management sometimes requires not only the added experience or degrees, but really a focus on wanting to work with people, wanting to grow people, not just being good at the technical job.
IT software development. So a lot of different roles can be played in the software development, which is developing the software for your organization. Some of the entry-level roles include the systems analyst, which it's going to gather and document technical requirements for your for the application you're building. Again, these are jobs in the entry level that don't necessarily require a 4-year college degree, but there's certifications you can take and maybe some work experience that'll get you there. So the good news is there's a lot of jobs in IT in the entry level that not necessarily need that 4-year degree. We'll talk about the differences later on in the presentation, but if you can get started without that 4-year degree and work towards it, it saves a lot of time and money, given the cost of a college education these days. A business analyst does similar as a systems analyst, where they're gathering and documenting business requirements from the users of the system that they're going to build. The QA or quality assurance analyst or tester, they're testing the software functionality against the requirements. There's plenty of certifications in that as well, but work experience I've seen works great with a QA tester, someone who's used the software, a previous version or a previous brand of software, and now knows what it should look like after the new one's been built. And a junior developer, again, this is helping a project team developing the application code, and for the most part requires a certification, not necessarily a 4-year degree. When you start getting into the senior level, we talk about testing and automation, which is what I do for a living. There's something called what's called an SDET, or a software development engineer and test. And basically, you're writing code to test code. You're writing code to test your application, so you can automate some of the functions that you don't have to go over and over again, or dive deep into code before it gets to a tester to find those problems at a technical level. Software architect, they're the ones designing the whole application, from how the software and hardware is going to look, how it's going to be routed, all those things. And then a software engineer who's developing and kind of leading the charge in developing the application code. And again, these jobs typically require a college degree in coding experience before you can land one of them.
Right. So a lot of these different paths can move upward. There's a ton of growth available in the IT field. These are just a few examples at the more senior level, getting into database administration. That's usually not going to be entry level, but if you're getting into some of the analyst type positions, some programming, if you get into some junior database type roles, you can step into being a DBA over time. That's almost always going to require a college degree, if not significant work experience leading into it. Unix administration, Unix is still out there very much in the enterprise space, and there's a specialized knowledge set that helps to give you a path toward growth in the large enterprises that still use it. And getting into cloud applications and cloud administration is a booming growth area for IT. It used to be that you had to have your applications built in-house and a server to host it on and all this infrastructure. Servers in general to run your environment and all this networking. So much of it can be virtualized now and not even be maintained within the premises of the company that you're working for. The two leaders in this space overwhelmingly are Microsoft Azure and Amazon Web Services. And following learning paths toward either of those can put you in very good stead as you develop into your career.
And then other areas of information technology, a project manager. So that's going to be the person not necessarily technical or maybe technical who grew into this position, but it manages the project timelines, the resources, the costs, everything that goes into meeting the requirements for an application and getting it out the door. Typically, that's going to require a college degree and also a PMP certification, and PMP is for a project management professional. So we talk about a certification. That's one that's, that has to keep, it's an ongoing certification that you have to keep meeting requirements for year after year. There's also in organizations a project management office where they collect and report project metrics. So they may be doing this for multiple projects over an organization or a business unit. Not necessarily a college degree, as they're basically just collecting data and reporting it out, but it's a good start into project management. And these are the types of reports that go up to senior management to say, hey, are we on cost? Are we meeting requirements? Are we going to get this out the door on time? Web designer, I put this in here because it's not really an IT background. It's more of an art background or graphic design background. They typically require a college degree, but you're basically designing a website based on the requirements. And again, it's more of the picture of the web, your web page, as opposed to actually writing code. So it's more, most of the folks in this field are graphic designers. And then the data scientist role was something I wanted to put in here because this is going to require an advanced degree, a master's or higher. And what data scientists do, and it's becoming more and more important, is analyze data to improve the overall business, marketing, whatever you need those metrics for. And the trend these days with data scientists are what folks call big data, where there's just tons and tons of data. Healthcare is one particular field that has just lots and lots of data that has to be analyzed. And same with social media sites where you have lots and lots of data. Data scientists come in and analyze that data, use it to make things more efficient, or maybe direct ads out to certain people's profiles based on their browsing history, stuff like that. So I just wanted to contrast that with some other areas. And then there's tons of different roles in IT. These are the most common, and they just wanted to show how they compare and contrast with each other. Oops, one likes to double.
All right, so getting into the education side of this, I'm a huge proponent of formal education, and for some areas of IT, if not being a hard requirement, it's at the very least a soft requirement. And I see that particularly on the programming side, the database administration side. There's a lot of formal education that goes into that. learning to code, learning how to properly normalize databases. You can self-study for it, but these are going to be jobs that are very often going to be looking specifically for a degree. When we talk in a minute on the certification side, a lot of the infrastructural stuff oftentimes is more self-study and work experience or technical coursework. But some of the biggest values that the formal education gives, especially in today's world where everything's available to learn online, why would you still formally go to a college? It really does a couple things. One, it helps to make sure that you're well-rounded. It's almost cliche to talk about tech professionals that can't communicate with people. I've worked with several in the past, and it's always very awkward because technology doesn't exist for technology's sake. Technology always exists to support the users, to support business needs. And you need to understand how people think, how people of different fields think, what the business needs actually are, what the impact is of X technology versus Y technology in relation to the business goals, the financial returns that are being looked at, versus just what's the coolest, best technical solution to something. And the other thing that completing a degree shows is that you can actually see something through of big scale, like getting a degree. And that adds a lot of value to hiring managers as well. Outside of the formal education realm, there's all kinds of self-study technical courses and whatnot, but it becomes harder to show what do you know without being able to say, oh, I have a bachelor's degree in this, I have a master's degree in this, I have an associate's degree in this, which a lot of technology you can really get rolling just with a 2-year degree. So how, if you're not getting the degree, do you prove that? You've got that knowledge, and that's where certifications come in. There's certifications for basic technology handling and support, networking, security, server stuff, programming. There really is certification for everything across the spread of IT. And what it does is it provides a recognized benchmark of what you know. And it's not a perfect measure, but especially as you're getting going, it really provides, like for myself, managing a service desk, if I'm working with someone that's a new technician, I can take a look at their resume and how they talk about certain technologies and try and figure out, hey, do they really have a good grasp on this? If I know that they have their Network Plus certification, which we'll talk about some specific certifications like that in a moment, I know that they've got a certain foundation of networking knowledge that I don't have to worry about training them up on. I know there are certain gaps that are filled. What it doesn't mean is that just because you've gotten a network certification that you're an expert in it. And that's where getting the experience and getting hands-on with things also comes in. And there's really 2 types of certification. There are some vendor-specific ones out there. With networking, a lot of Cisco stuff comes to mind. Cisco Systems is overwhelmingly the leader in networking across the planet. Microsoft is obviously a huge leader in technology, and they have their own certification tracks for all kinds of technology. And there's vendor neutral certifications that cover more topic-based things. They aren't promoting a particular brand of technology or company's technology, but more the broad area of technology. So we've laid out some kind of entry-level certifications here. And I say entry-level loosely. All of them are kind of beginnings to certain paths. But taking a look at the first 4 here, these are what I would consider foundational or fundamental type exams. CompTIA IT fundamentals. This actually I've seen in various high school curriculums even. And it provides a very basic fundamental grasp on, hey, here's how, the basics of technology and personal technology use work. The Cisco Certified Technician is Cisco's kind of attempt at putting a fundamental exam out there for, this is someone that understands the basics and is ready to be taught more. The Microsoft Technology Associate exams, these are still out there. They're getting a little bit outdated. Microsoft hasn't been updating these. I think only 2 of them have stayed significantly current, one on security and one about Microsoft Windows. but again, it provides foundational knowledge in those areas. And then Microsoft has made a big push with their new fundamentals exams. In Microsoft 365, they've got another one for Microsoft Azure that really covers the spread of the basics with those particular platforms. The next block of 3, these are all vendor neutral from CompTIA, which is a certification body that only does vendor neutral certifications. These 3 are kind of the trifecta of getting into system administration and support. The A+ exam back in the day was 2 exams, one about hardware and one about software. And the hardware one even taught you about voltages that were tied to certain things on the motherboard, stuff that really these days no one cares about. And you can look it all up on Google. You don't have to have all this memorized. And that's why they've kept it really current. They've changed their certifications from being lifetime certifications to requiring 3-year renewals now. In the modern A+, it is still 2 exams, but it covers everything from understanding the basic settings and configuration in Windows, in Mac OS, a little bit of Linux, iOS and Android, understanding Bluetooth, understanding basic networking. It really is wide ranging. It also covers how to provide end user support, some good business practices when doing that. The Network Plus exam, in theory, is seen as a step up, although some people I've heard take Network Plus first because it's 1 exam versus 2, and it's focused specifically on networking. It goes a little bit deep and it goes really wide. Everything from understanding some basics of your typical wired networks and Wi-Fi networks in your home, cellular network transmission, Bluetooth, Internet of Things, physical cabling. It really starts to lay that foundation for computer networking. And then Security Plus kind of finishes off that trifecta of exams where it digs deeper on the networking, gets into network security. It also delves into security from a policy and procedure standpoint of what does good security behavior look like? Because for all the technology out there, end users are the biggest security hole in any organization, and knowing how to teach people about good behavior when it comes to technology is a big piece of that as well. And then the last few exams here, these are entry points into their respective certification tracks with these providers, but they may not be if you're completely new looking into formal technology education. It might not be what you're going to first jump into without a little bit more foundation. The first one is the Cisco Certified Network Associate, or CCNA. This is the start to Cisco's networking track of certifications. And it really provides a broad and deep coverage of computer networking, particularly on Cisco hardware. The hands-on stuff that you learn in prepping for that exam will serve you well, specifically in larger enterprises that are, all Cisco focused on their network gear. The hands-on won't directly translate to some other vendors, but you'll know what you need to do. Knowing how to do it with a different brand is just looking up the specifics. The PMI Certified Associate in Project Management. PMI is the Project Management Institute. It's the same organization that certifies people as PMPs, or project management professionals, as we mentioned earlier. The CAPM exam and certification is kind of their entry point into project management certification. Both of those exams do require, both the CAPM and the PMP have requirements of formal education as well as hours spent actually running sets of projects. But it can get you into that track of really leading the team on accomplishing projects. Then the System Security Certified Practitioner is kind of the entry point into security certifications from an organization called ISC Squared, which at the high end, they have one of the premier certifications in security, the CISSP. And the SSCP is kind of their entry point to their track.
So work experience. how do you're working already, how do you move into that IT field, or how do you gain some more work experience so you can move your career in the IT field? I think the first thing we're talking about is find somewhere to volunteer. The Information Technology Commission, like what we're doing here, is a good way to volunteer. You get to learn, new things about information technology, even though you may not be an information technology professional. Building stuff yourself. There's plenty of websites, and we'll go into some resources on Google and YouTube where you can learn either how to build code or even build hardware, or build a video game system. One project that the commission is working on that we do at our fairs is the Raspberry Pi, where you build a small computer. And so you basically build it from a small motherboard on up. It's fairly simple project, but it gets you kind of into what a computer components look like. So you're building something, you're getting some familiarity. Going to sites like a Field Nation, similar sites like that, to get some experience. So you can go to sites and practice code. I think a key here is improving what we call soft skills, which really translates into people skills. There are some jobs in IT, and you're pounding away at the keyboard, and that's what you're doing all day. And as a software developer, you're probably not going to move very far with that if you're not developing soft skills. But if that's what you enjoy doing, they do exist. But really, having those people skills, being able to communicate. Importantly, is being able to translate technology to the business users. Being a software developer, you understand all the bits and everything that goes into the code that you just wrote, and you understand how it works with the code. But trying to tell a business user how it's working, being able to translate that technology and talk to the business and present it in such a way goes far, because that gives you that ability to work with the business closer and be more in charge of IT projects and move into some of these other senior fields. And then knowing the business you're looking at. So if you're looking to change jobs or find a job in IT and it's in a manufacturing field, if you can't talk about manufacturing and things related to manufacturing, it's not going to be as good, or you might not have as an advantage as if you don't know what manufacturing is about. Or same if you're going into an accounting office or a legal office to do IT. If you don't know the business before you get in there, that puts you at a disadvantage. So doing your homework, knowing the business. If you're already working and want to move into your IT department at your organization, learning more about the business there too. And that's easy because you're inside, so you could talk to people that are right inside. But just having a full understanding of how the business works, or as full as you can get before you move into that IT field, that all those soft skills it will move you up the ladder, is because now you're getting more, you're not just sitting at a cube, no one knows you're there unless someone opens a defect against you writing code, right? So those are the kind of things that will help you improve and get more work experience and move into the IT field. We'll talk about some transition things in the next slide. And then continuous learning. IT is constantly changing faster than people can learn it. So folks in the IT field are always learning. And something that was brought up in conversation the other day was, you may start out as a help desk support person. Your career might end out as a DBA or a project manager, or even an IT director, manager, somewhere in there in the more on the business side of things. IT fields really don't, once you're in the IT field, it doesn't mean you're going to be doing the same thing year after year. Most people move around. Or if, in my case, where I'm a consultant, I wear a lot of different hats. So I'm doing multiple things at the same time. But so always keeping on top of things and renewing certifications like we talked about before, and getting new certifications are great ways to gain additional work experience and staying on top of the field. Career transition to IT. So what are some ways you can transition your career to IT? Say you're an accountant now. Taking classes. The community college offers a lot of good classes that associate's degree does really go far in IT these days. So things like that. Taking classes at the library, online, there are tons of classes. We'll look into some of those resources. Completing certifications. You want to start working with the help desk in your organization, you can get some of those administration certifications, show your qualifications. getting involved in your company's project. So the example of using an accountant, you know the accounting software, you've been using it for years, and now they want to upgrade or go to a new platform. Well, you're, you know, since you know what you need, your job is every day, you can become a subject matter expert, and you work with the IT project team to answer questions, clarify requirements, and that kind of moves you into a user acceptance tester at the end of the day, where after all is said and done and the software is there, the users need to take some time testing it and making sure that what they thought the requirement was and what they thought was supposed to work actually does work. And to be honest, you find a lot of changes in here because everything tested the way the requirement said, but the requirement wasn't quite what the user wanted. So those are two ways to get involved in company IT projects. And I've seen people move from these roles into the IT project format and not do their day-to-day job anymore. Again, you could complete a degree in an IT related field. If your organization has tuition reimbursement, you want to move to an IT job within your organization, it might be worthwhile taking, you know, whatever school you need to get an IT degree. Or again, we talked about community college, finishing an associate's. And then finding companies with a transition program. So if you're looking to move companies, there are companies that hire, and the company I work for is a good example where we have a program where we look for recent college grads and career transition folks that are looking to get into IT, and we do something where we put them through a boot camp. And if after the boot camp they're interested and we're interested, it turns into a position. So those are different ways you can transition your career into the information technology field.
All right, so we want to talk about some specific resources because we've talked so much about how it's important to learn, to keep learning. Again, if you're not interested in perpetually learning throughout your career, IT is not the way to go because again, it does change very quickly. I did a course from a Microsoft certified trainer a couple of years ago, and they had brand new content from Microsoft that was 3 weeks old, and they were already having to update it because things were already changing so fast. So how do you have the resources to keep up? The first one that we wanted to highlight, it is an outstanding platform, is LinkedIn Learning or lynda.com. And if you're watching this and you're a Fountaindale library card holder, you have access to this for free. You can just go to the Fountaindale website, go into the resources, and there's access to it there today. I actually was looking for some resources for a new certification I'm going to be pursuing. And one of my other typical platforms that I look at, the content isn't quite fleshed out yet. lynda.com has some that is, and I'm going to be using that here in the next few weeks, actually. It's a great platform. The next few platforms I'm very familiar with, near and dear to me as I've trained up technicians over the years. itpro.tv. They take an interesting track on video-based computer training. They call their trainers edu-trainers or edutainers. And they do try and make it actually an entertainment type program, almost like little snippets of a television show, you know, half-hour cuts, maybe 20-minute cuts, so that you aren't getting bored while you're just staring at a screen learning, which can happen if you're going through hours and hours of content. They have really great stuff. One of the things that I do like with them even more, or that over the next couple, is they have a free tier. So IT Pro TV and CVT Nuggets and Pluralsight all are paid platforms. Still quite a bit cheaper than what a typical college education path would take you to spend, but it does cost money. At the foundational level of courses, a lot of those fundamental exams that we talked about, IT Pro TV, their video content for that is just available for free. You just register for a free account, it's there for you. If you are interested in some of their other content, they periodically have free weekends where they'll take all their security stuff, just open it up to the masses for a weekend, or all their stuff about Amazon Web Services and open it up. It's where the introductory knowledge that I've got on AWS came from, was from one of their free weekends. CBT Nuggets, out of the three of these, it's the most expensive of them, but it does add in some of the most features. The very certification focused versus just general technology learning. But they also have virtual labs that you can work with, especially if you're going the networking route. It used to just be a given that if you were going to pursue your CCNA certification, you need to spend a few $100s on hardware and work with it in a home lab. It's still not bad advice, but it's not nearly as critical with the virtual labs that are available from companies like CBT Nuggets now. You can simulate a lot of that. Pluralsight, I utilize this through work. Phenomenal platform. Also does have practice exams on their higher tiered memberships, but great technical tracks. And it, as much as I use it more on the system administration side and networking side for education, probably 70% of their content is more for programming and development. And what's interesting with Pluralsight is all of their trainers are not actually Pluralsight employees. They don't employ anyone. These are all individual content creators that if they don't provide good content, Pluralsight doesn't bring them back to do more content. So they're only keeping the best of the best instructors providing content to them. And actually, as a plug for them, and again, none of us are sponsored by anyone here, but they do have a sale right now, and I think it goes on for at least a few more days. If you're interested in one of their annual memberships, their basic one is normally $300 a year. I think it's on sale for $200, so they're cutting off a third of the cost right now. So if you are interested, it's worth investigating. The next platform, Coursera. A lot of free content and paid content on Coursera, not just for IT, but again, we've talked about how important it is to be well-rounded. There's tons of content from a lot of universities and a lot of other platforms funneled through Coursera. And a year or two ago, Google decided they were going to throw their hat into the ring for basic IT certifications for getting into entry-level IT. And they've got a course that takes you through some basic programming, web development, networking, end user support, covers all of that, and they run that through Coursera. Microsoft Learn, great platform for the new Microsoft cloud technologies like 365 and Azure. That really just provides a lot of great content. Their fundamentals exams have dedicated learning paths, and they've got content for a lot of their upstream, more senior certifications as well. If getting into the infrastructure side isn't for you and you want to get into coding, Code Academy is a great fun site to start working from. You can learn the basics of Java. I think they have a Python course out there now. They have some web stuff with HTML and CSS courses as well. And Code Academy is a free platform. Udemy.com is an outstanding one that has some free content as well as a lot of paid content. Don't pay full price for their content. I want to educate people on that. They have, and actually I pulled it up so that I could speak on it, because right now and through October 26th, we're recording this on October 22nd, they've got a sale running. They run at least one sale every month, if not a couple, where they massively cut the cost on their courses. As an example, a course that's out there for the CompTIA A+ certification, normally it's $140 for the video course. It's selling for $19 right now. And the Network Plus course, it's normally $95, is selling for $12 right now. And they do these kind of sales regularly. I've used some of the course stuff out there for certifications myself. There's outstanding content. Just wait for the sales. And then if you are trying, again, looking for some platforms where you don't have to put any money out right now, go to YouTube. There is a ton of content on YouTube beyond silly cat videos and such. There's great learning opportunities to be had on YouTube. The trouble is vetting the quality of the content, because again, anybody can post things on YouTube. If you are interested in getting into some initial stuff out there, one channel that, again, I have no affiliation with, but I'll plug because I love his content. If you just search for Network Chuck, you'll find some good stuff. He's doing a free CCNA course every week. He's releasing a new module until he's done with the course. And he's qualified enough that CBT Nuggets uses him as an instructor on their platform as well. But he's putting this stuff out there, and he's put a lot of wide-ranging courses out there. And spinning off of his site, you can find other good content as well.
Another resource you can use is the Village of Bolingbrook IT Commission website. From there, you can contact us if you have specific questions that we don't cover or we haven't covered this evening. There's we have 15 folks on the commission who are all IT professionals. So I believe one of us would be able to help if there are any specific questions. So you can go out to that website and ask away.
Mark, Steve, first question we've got is seeing about all the training and whatnot, but the key question is, where's the best place to go to try to find a job at the entry level in IT?
A lot of just about any job posting that's out there these days, it's not going to be just having to go find the employers and go looking. When I've looked for jobs, and as well as when we posted jobs for my company, we make sure that it posts on Indeed.com, posts on LinkedIn. If you're looking at those two platforms, you're going to see, I would guess, again, I'm not an HR professional, so I don't have hard stats on this, but I would guess 60 to 80% of all the job opportunities that are out there are listed there. And I think I'm being conservatively low on that percentage on things, because everything can cross post everywhere. The bigger thing that I want to put out there is, hey, how do you apply for these things when you are doing it? One of the easiest ways to do is make sure that your LinkedIn profile is current. A lot of these job applications now, you can just click a button on them that says apply with LinkedIn, and it will draw content from your profile. And then you just have to make sure, did it get all the stuff? You don't have to type it all out 20 times as you're applying for jobs. And it provides an opportunity for people to see really what's automatically a nicely formatted web-based resume. I would encourage everyone, if you're going to do that though, take the time to fully flesh out your LinkedIn profile. Don't just fill in a few blanks and then go with it. Flesh it out as much as you would if you were going to check out a website for a company to see if you wanted to spend money with them, bring their services in to take care of your home. You need to be selling yourself on LinkedIn at a quality that if an employer is looking at you, they go, wow, this is who I want working in my company and on my team.
Yeah, and just to add to that too, particularly if you're the intention is to go back to school and finish up some of these qualifications, be it degree or associate's degree, the schools now are integrated with most of the companies as far as having career fairs. So using that as a resource as well. I know they're putting on virtual career fairs these days with the with the pandemic going on, but yeah, so if you are in school or just about finishing up school, using the resources there, the career fairs that they offer is another good way to get into the entry level opportunities.
Hey, gentlemen, a second question. If someone wants to go into the software programming as a career, what are the current hot languages they should consider learning something about?
That's a good question. So a lot of, and there's so many out there. So, but a lot of what I'm seeing is the Microsoft shops are using C# as the hot language if you're in a Microsoft shop. Outside of Microsoft shops, people that are using Microsoft technology as their code platforms. Developers don't really like C#, but that is the one of the hot languages, particularly within a Microsoft organization is using their technology to build their applications. Java would be to me would be the second one that a lot of developers or a lot of organizations are using to develop their applications as well. And you see that, and me being on the test automation side, those are the two kind of programming language I use on a regular basis to write the code that tests the code. More of a, so I'm not sure, Steve, if you work with some of the, I know you're more on the support side, but if some of the organizations you work with are different kinds of shops, but those are the two hot ones right now that I would say would give you the most bang for your buck.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that. And again, I'm not on the development side. I am not a programmer by any stretch, but Java is going to be an outstanding entry point into the organization, into programming and development. Because you can do general programming, you can tie it into web-based stuff. The other language that I would put out there as a possibility is Python. Python has been and remains hot across platforms.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Python's also a good starter language, if you will. A
It's
lot
fairly
of STEM
friendly.
based,
Yeah.
yeah, it's friendly. A lot of STEM resources are using Python to do their teaching. So that's a good one to get that coding base or knowledge base started, and then moving on to the Java or C# type languages.
Okay, gentlemen, our next question is, do you have any recommendations for things to learn or certifications to help someone get a business process job?
That is a good question. um, I'm not sure. I might have to take this one back and figure out a way to post it back to the library. But one of the hotter things right now is what's called robotic process automation, where I think where you're talking about business process, where where basically you're doing is automating, not testing, but automating actual manual processes within your organization. So for example, filling out forms online, things of that nature. So there's a lot of tools in that robotic process automation realm that have certifications. One of them is called UiPath. And the other one is called Eggplant. And now those are two testing tools. So if you were to go look at them, they would say they're testing, but they've also got a big robotic process automation. I don't know, division's not the right word, but tool set as well within them. So those are things you may want to look at getting into IT and business processes. The robotic process automation is that's becoming more and more prevalent in the industry. And like I said, it's not automating IT, it's automating manual processes.
And one last question, gentlemen. The question is, with the current state of the economy and businesses cutting back, is an IT career still a good place to go? Are there openings and opportunities?
Oh, absolutely it is. While, there are certainly people that, especially this year and with everything that 2020 has brought, people are dealing with layoffs, furloughs, everything else. I can tell you though, working for a managed service provider where we're doing IT for multiple companies, while we've had some clients drop off or had to lay off people and cut back services, we've had more people come to us. We're actively hiring, and we know that many of our competitors are as well. For the last several years, here in the Chicagoland market, IT as a whole encompassed field, again, from the infrastructure side, the end user support, the programming, just the whole of IT has effectively had negative unemployment in the Chicagoland market. There are more openings than there are people to fill them. It's a hot market and technology is not going away. If anything, people that can help support technology are so much more vital now when people aren't right there in-house to help each other when something quirky is going on, and being able to develop technologies to improve efficiencies, to help automate processes, to help build business and reach goals. It's more relevant than ever.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do work for a services firm as well on the consulting side. And yeah, we did have a few clients that, were affected, particularly in hospitality, but other clients have picked up because they needed to shift their business a little bit too. Some clients serve the public, and all of a sudden they needed new projects that'll help support, things like, hey, I can't pay my bill. I need bill help payment, stuff like that. What I've seen lately, stuff like chatbot. You go on and you ask a question to a robot on the computer. If you've seen those and they pop up, that's becoming more relevant because people are using their phones to try to get support for whatever the case may be. Like mortgage companies had to put up whole new parts of their application and website just to help people that have been affected. So yeah, there's a there's the technology shift a little bit to different needs, but yeah, there's still that deficit and there's still jobs to fill. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for taking their time out tonight to listen to us. And again, you can use the VOBITC website to ask us additional questions if there are more you think of after this evening.
Absolutely. We thank everyone for spending a little bit of your evening with us.